pick your brain and dive deeper into your story.
Life was beautiful, butterflies.
Where is it going to run? It's going to manifest somewhere in your body, right? Just to feel rested, just to be at peace. This is all the chase about.
Anything that happens, I'm going to fix this.
How would you describe your life now in 3 words? R.I.P. Yes. Welcome to my podcast, Mindset2Milestones. I'm your host, Nia, and I'm so thrilled to have you join us. This podcast is all about sharing real, powerful stories of incredible individuals who have transformed their pain to power. So the goal of this podcast is to inspire, educate, and encourage each and every one of you to take action in your life by just listening to these stories. So grab a cup of coffee and get comfortable, and let's dive into these amazing stories. The whole point is to grow and conquer our milestones one step at a time. Would you believe me if I told you you can cure your chronic ailments without any medication? Wouldn't you want to know how to do that? So on this episode, we are diving into an inspiring story, a journey of resilience and transformation. So our guest for this episode is a young electromechanical engineer and a managing partner at Al-Zaruni. So she had an autoimmune disease which she completely healed by herself just through holistic approaches. Get ready to be inspired and motivated by her incredible journey. This is the story of Ayesha Thahir Ali. So welcome to the podcast, Ayesha. Thank you so much for joining me and be willing to chat to me about your experience, which we will get into right now.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me, Nia. I'm so honored that you would took time to get to know about everything that we're going to talk about today. And thank you for having me. I'm very happy to be here and share my experience.
So what really intrigued me about your story was the fact that you had an autoimmune condition back in 2021. You were 28 years old at the time. And I really want you to talk about that and walk me through what exactly happened.
Right. So this was, I think, the summer of 2021. I think we were just in and out of COVID, almost out of COVID, especially in Dubai. And one day, I think my eye started swelling up. Well, my right eye, I went to the doctor, and the doctor is like, to an ophthalmologist. And then he's just like, well, this is not my case. I think you need to see a rheumatologist. I don't even know what that meant at that point, right? I couldn't even spell it. So then I went to a rheumatologist, and they're like, well, this seems something, we need to give you steroids for this. It seems like your body is attacking your iris. It's called uveitis. And I mean, I didn't understand much of it then. That steroids went away. And then soon after, I developed this bad pain in my lower back, especially in my SI joints. And I was immobile. Like I used to go for berries 3 times a week. I used to go for yoga. I used to go for all of these. Like,
so you're quite active?
I was quite active. And then I thought, maybe is it my workout? But it was just a very weird kind of pain. So I stopped everything. And I started going to a doctor. And then soon after, once again, I was back at the rheumatologist. And then they told me, your MRI shows that your SI joints are very inflamed. And then you have this... it seems like your body is attacking your SI joint, and because the eye also had happened a few months ago, they're like, clearly this constitutes to be a part of ankylosing spondylitis, and this is an autoimmune condition where your body is I mean, it was just so much information at that point of time. I'm like, autoimmunity, rheumatology, SI joints.
Like, what do these words even mean?
It was so bad, because I remember my husband I used to wake up my husband at that point in the middle of the night to just take me to the toilet. And it was so painful. I don't even know how I was so sad. I was like, I'm a 28-year-old. I'm healthy, alhamdulillah. I have a good family. Why is this happening to me? I was really confused. So I went to the best of the best doctors. And they're like, well, we're going to give you this drug, some inhibitor, immunity inhibitor called TNF injection, I think, in your thigh. You're going to take it for a week and it's going to get better. Because over time, your body needs to it needs to relax its immune response. Otherwise, you're going to lose your joint. You might need a hip replacement. That really scared me. And then I was like, okay, fine. And they're like, okay, we're going to put this for the insurance approval. And then I went back home. Obviously, I researched what TNF is and I realized it's used in chemotherapy.
Oh my God.
So, it's for people with cancer to relax their immune system when they're going through radiation and everything so that the tumor reduces. I panicked. I went to the doctor and I'm like, wait, so does this cure everything for me? And they're like, you might have it again. We never know. We just need to see. But this has helped millions of people. People live with this kind of pain, rheumatoid arthritis and whatever. And then I was like, you know what, doc, give me 6 months. Let me try my way and I will come back to you.
But in that moment, like, how did you know how to say that? Like, what made you even think about that? Why was that even an option at that point?
I sometimes think about it back then because I remember my mother, my husband were like, take it, because they love medicine. They love doctor. I mean, well, they trust doctors, right? But for me, I was just confused. Because I didn't understand how things are working and why my immune system was hyperactive.
Yeah.
I think it made me realize that I need to take a step back and do some research, because at that point I was just firefighting. I was just going ahead, looking at the right doctor, looking at the few things. I was like, I need to take a step back and advocate for myself and do some research into what's happening. That's when I realized inflammation. When people say inflamed, your body is inflamed or your spine is inflamed, there's that's when I really went into reading about what inflammation is, what causes inflammation. And so I don't know, that's what I sometimes still think about why I chose not to just go ahead with the treatment. And it was
it felt almost like intuitive, in a very weird way.
I didn't understand the entire mechanics of what my body was doing to me. I was like, wait, let me take control of this for a bit, and if I'm not able to, I will come back to you.
Right. And then you did that for 6 months.
So for 6 months, I read up everything about anti-inflammation, anti-inflammatory diets, and gut health, and how our gut. And I mean, I was reading, I don't remember where I read it, but it's that when we evolved, when evolution took place, our brains became bigger and our gut became smaller because we invented fire. We learned how to cook. We learned how to, so our gut bacteria actually our brain became smaller, our gut became, brain became bigger, gut became smaller. And there are all of these biomes in your gut that basically dictate the immune system.
Right.
I went into all of that, and when I say I cut out gluten, I cut out sugar, I cut out milk.
Because that was recommended.
I mean, that's what it said, that all of these things that we're eating has a lot of hormones or have a lot of additives that are not really great for us. So then I did that, I would say religiously, for 2 months. And then I took a more sustainable approach because I realized this makes sense, right? Because 3 times a day I'm putting something in my body, which is food. If I can control that, maybe I can control the rest of my body. I definitely found a lot of resource on Instagram about how food is medicine. I followed this I love this lady in Dubai called influencer in Dubai. She also has her own brand called Rashi Chowdhury.
Yes.
She started talking about gut a while ago. I didn't understand what she was saying at that point of time, but then when I actually started listening, I saw that she was reading, she was showing all these research papers. I read every book. I read Why We Live, Why We Die. Why We Get Fat. I'm going to tell you these books by really.
No worries.
I have an entire resource of...
and you read it all. You were just reading it.
I read these books. And you know what? The pain got better. The pain started reducing.
When did you start noticing the change?
It was around the mark of like 3.5 months when I saw that, okay, this is better. I started doing ice baths. I started doing sauna. I started using anything holistic, anything that didn't require me to eat medication. Because earlier, to reduce the pain, the doctors had recommended me medication. I remember sometimes in the middle of the night, I'd wake up with these like crazy attacks of pain. So I'd have to like, crawl to the medicine cabinet because I was so sad to even wake up my husband at that point in time. I just pop in the medicine and, feel better and then just pass out. And I was like, this is not the way. This is not how I want my life to be.
Right.
So, yeah, and then I completely stopped taking those medications. They were non-steroidal anti-inflammatory medications. I stopped taking them. And I think after the 3.5 month mark, I got my life back.
After 3 months of just changing your diet.
Just changing my diet. It was a lot. I would say there was a progress because the pain just doesn't go away.
Right.
It reduces, it becomes less.
But you could notice it.
Oh, yeah, because then I was happy because the quality of life had really reduced for me with that pain. I was upset, I was cranky, I was ungrateful. I was just a very difficult person to be around. But I started cooking. I started cooking for my husband. I started becoming really, difficult about what we're going to eat and what we're not going to eat. And I really started enjoying cooking. I started understanding what every different vegetable or food that we eat, the kind of nutrients it has. And I think when you understand that, you really enjoy eating well. Right. When you understand that, this is what it's going to give me, or this food is there for to provide this to our body, then that's when you realize, I want to eat this. I wouldn't say like long term, I would completely like stay off sugar. There are days on my birthday, I will eat an entire cake if I can.
Right.
But it's about moderation.
So where does willpower come into all of this? Because I imagine you had a certain kind of lifestyle and a diet prior to this change, right? So changing probably wasn't easy. You probably had certain cravings. So where does willpower come into this? Was that something that was challenging for you? How did you go around that?
So I think willpower comes in when you do your research, when you have the knowledge, when you are wiser. That's when you realize, this is what the science about anti-inflammation is, about autoimmunity is. Your immune system is overreactive because there are certain environmental stresses that are happening. For example, stress. I wasn't sleeping well. I would go out after work. I would sleep in late. I would wake up early. I would go for my workout, in the morning to meet my friends. I was doing silly stuff like
what is that? What were your observations about yourself? So you just labeled it stress, but these were things that you enjoyed. It wasn't something that you weren't unhappy about doing. You were enjoying yourself. So, but what does that tell you about what that does to your body, despite you enjoying it?
What it does to our body? I mean, how do you say it? I was misusing my body, the ability. I was misusing how fast I could run, or how little I could sleep, or how much I could go out. I was doing all of that. I mean, I still do it, but there is a balance. I realized waking up earlier, sleeping at a certain period of time during the night is so important for our entire body to recover. And even sleep. I read so much about sleep, why we sleep, by this guy. I forget what the author is. And it talks about the restorative quality of sleep, of REM sleep, of deep sleep. Your muscles are getting restored. Your brain's getting restored. So, that's when I realized, this is what my body is telling me my body was in fight and flight mode. But flight and fight mode constantly. And I needed to condition it to come out of it, because I remember I went for an ice bath session and I couldn't go chest down, and they're like, you're so anxious, stop breathing and calm yourself down. I remember I did hypnotherapy with you. That was such a release. I did everything under the sun that could helped me take back control of my body.
And what were your learnings while you were going through that phase or through that healing process? What observations were you making about if not the root cause, like why you were the way you were, and why it got to this point? Why did that become your norm or your way of life? Like what were your learnings or your understanding or observations about that?
What do you mean? As in the way life became in pain or afterwards?
With the way the life became, like as in how you got to that point. So you mentioned it was stress.
Yeah,
right?
it was stress.
And it is a byproduct of how your lifestyle was, right? But there was a reason why that lifestyle served you to a certain extent, so why it was a choice, to a certain point. Why do you think that was?
That why I got to this stressful.
Yeah.
So I'm in construction. My life is obviously quite stressful. I work with people that need everything done 1 month ago. I work in that kind of an industry. Plus, I lived with my family who have a very budding social life. And I love working out. I have a good community that works out together. So I wanted to fit all of these things in. And I think especially work took a huge toll on me. Work really did. And I think what I learned over the years is better coping mechanisms about how I must react. I can't control my environment, but my surroundings or whatever's happening, I can control my attitude. So I'm not really sure how I got there. I didn't think about processed food much. I was eating crap a few days a week. I'm not really sure Nia can answer that question.
No, that's right. So tell me more about a specific scenario that has changed for you compared to how you used to handle things back in the day versus how you handle it now.
I take a step back now and I look at the big picture. I look at, I realize, I've learned this from my husband as well. I don't try to react in the situation. I try to respond.
What does that mean?
So if there is something coming at me that needs my urgent attention, I will try to break it down. I'll try to break it down in steps. I'll try to break it down. Okay, why it's happening? What's the root cause? Instead of me just going to, let me just go solve this problem. Because in that moment, I haven't used my resources in my brain. I haven't used my knowledge. I'm just reacting, which doesn't make sense because I might just fix it in the wrong way. And I realize a lot of people are dependent on me in the company to make the right decision. And I can't just, go at it that way. So that's changed for me, definitely. I take a step back. I process a few things, which makes me a bit slow. People might think I'm a bit slow, but I need to, see the whole thing, do a few things. But I think that's also what I've learned in this health journey of mine, taking a step back, taking control of, even though you're not an expert, the internet is a beautiful thing. If you go through it the right way.
Right.
You go through your resources the right way, so it's a nice way.
So you mentioned that there are a lot of people depending on you, right? Tell me a little bit more of the kind of role you need to step into to be able to be dependable, and what does it take to kind of carry that, I don't want to call it burden, but to play that role.
Yeah.
What does it take? And what does it take to be able to not react? So you mentioned that you just take things one at a time.
Yeah.
But what quality have you acquired, and what does it take to put on that hat of being someone that people can depend on?
I think the word that really resonates with me when you ask me that question is resilience. That you go down, you get back up, and that's what life is. Like, it's gonna keep throwing you curveballs. You can't wait for the right moment. You can't wait for the right timing. It's what I realized even with my industry, right? Like, my guys, obviously, because of the nature of our work are always under so much stress. And sometimes they come back like, oh, this is happening. We need to do this right now. So I need to be that place that they can come to where they feel like, okay, we can figure this out. Sometimes I'll get confused, like, oh my God, what's happening? But then I have an excellent team now that I can discuss things with. So I think the hat we need to keep on is that we need to be resilient. We need to tell our team like, okay, things are going bad, but you know what? Let's do a retrospective of what actually happened so that we don't do it again. If it's a real, genuine mistake, let's sit down, let's dissect it, what actually happened so that we don't repeat it in the future. So I think that's the role, that's the quality that I think that I have developed in the last few years. I don't know what qualities I need in the future. I'm going to take it as it comes because honestly, I was put into this role at a very young age and I've had an excellent mentor, but yeah.
So coming back to your health journey, how did you then, while you were healing and up until now, where are you now and how has that journey been since?
So my journey now is a little annoying when I meet the doctors for anything. I don't take any medications, nothing, not even a paracetamol for when I'm sick, which I rarely fall sick now. I make sure I know what kind of food that I'm eating. I've been very annoying with my mother as well, like, oh, I'm not eat this because you have cooked this in this oil. I want you to cook it in like, non-vegetable oil and like, good oil.
And what's the role of oil in inflammation?
So I think there's a specific science about the way the fats are broken down when it's vegetable oil and when it's seed oil. And I think the difference between having butter and how you cook olive oil. So I think seed oils, I think it's vegetables. Vegetable oils are very inflammatory.
Right.
Yeah, very, very inflammatory. And the Indian diet, everyone's just pouring it that way, right? So vegetable oil is very, very inflammatory. Sugar, my goodness, I can go on about how crazy sugar is.
Did you have any kind of withdrawals while you were cutting things out?
I keep trying to tell this to people. If you eat right, you're not going to get any sugar cravings. Like, it's just not, it's
how
not possible.
So?
You wake up in the morning and if the first thing you're going to have is cereal, you're going to get hungry in 2 hours because you are basically having this heavy insulin spike. I think there's this lady on Instagram called Insulin Goddess or Glucose Goddess.
Right.
That she talks about that, have a nice protein, fat, heavy breakfast in the morning so that you feel full. Like have a few eggs and avocado, have like paneer and paneer also apparently is good in protein and avocado and these fats. So you're fuller. So you don't end up snacking. It's a snacking that really messes us up because if you think about it, if we eat 3 times a day in our home, we're completely fine. But it's a snacking in the middle, the bars that we eat, the protein.
Because the insulin keeps spiking.
Yeah, and then you need to keep feeding yourself. So once you start eating right, like a good meal for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, like that's it. You're not gonna crave something too sweet. And we have all of these amazing fruits. I remember I was doing a keto diet once upon a time, and they were like, oh, but the apple is not good, because it takes you off ketosis, but the bacon is good. It doesn't make sense. So yeah, I'm more about like eating from what's coming from our Mother Earth,
Right. So what works for you in terms of your diet now for ankylosis?
I don't think I have it anymore.
So, okay.
Yeah,
that's excellent.
I just don't have it anymore. It's just not there because my immune system is.
But how great is that?
Yeah, by the way. So I would just say, ice baths really helped me as well because I read about the excellent benefits of how it really calms the immune system. Sauna, the way it detoxes your body. Yoga, oh my goodness, yoga.
Right.
The way you stretch weird parts of your muscles and so I don't think I have that anymore. And, anyone can get it. Anyone can have a spiked immune system. But I think it takes a lot of... Sometimes it gets really bad for people. But I think there are not enough resources. Because I remember I was now I'm a little upset that why didn't the doctor ever tell me about a better diet? Why didn't they tell me?
And why do you think that is? Because I'm really curious to know from your perspective. Because clearly invested so much time and energy in finding these solutions first, but from the medical industry and then by yourself. What's your understanding and the missing gap in all of this?
I seriously think it's because it's what I've read recently is that the doctors we have today, not the ones who are now training to be doctors, but the boomer generation and the millennial generation, they are not taught nutrition in as a subject in school, which is very sad. Because as soon as your sugar is over 142 non-fasting, okay, you have diabetes.
Yeah.
You have to have diabetes medication. Now you can't get off of it. Like my dad, for example, he went in with high blood pressure in his late 40s, early 50s, and they're like, now you have to take blood pressure medication
for the rest of your life.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm sure if they told him, like, you know what, I'm sure they told him, like, okay, reduce your sugar, reduce your salt, reduce this, reduce that. But I think at that point they're like, but you also need the medication.
Right.
You can do all of that, but you need to reduce sugar, but you also need the medication. But actually you don't. You don't, unless obviously things are really, really bad. But food, you put 3 times in your body a day, or like once a day if you're, I don't know, fasting for Ramadan. But yeah, it's a thing that you control, and it's amazing. Food is medicine. Food is supposed to be medicine. I think that's what Ayurveda is as well, right?
Exactly. And have you had this conversation with any of the doctors that you had seen who recommended you needed medication, and fast forward, you tell them you didn't? Have you ever had that kind of conversation?
I go back to the same doctor, but I remember telling the doctor that I want to do it my way. I want to do this holistic approach where I'm going to change my diet. And I remember that time she's like, yeah, you know what? It could help, but you have to be careful because tomorrow you want to have a baby. Your joints are not going to be intact, and, you need to figure this out soon enough. And I was like, yeah, I will, but I should go back and speak. But
so how would you describe your health in 3 words, or your lifestyle or your life in 3 words now?
3 words, I would say, is sustainable. Sometimes I completely, there are weeks that I don't do sugar at all, and then there'll be a weekend where I will indulge myself. So I think I've done a more sustainable way where I kind of had more planned, because I was eating meat all 3 times, all 3 meals. So I made it more sustainable. I realize it's not 3 words anymore. Sustainable, my diet or my lifestyle.
Just lifestyle, your life in general, right?
Sustainable, resilient, definitely resilient, and optimistic. Optimistic, yeah. I'm optimistic about anything that happens. Like, I'm going to fix this. I got this. I will research about it. I'll go back to school for this, So, yeah.
I love that. From your story, or based on your story, I can see there's a little pattern of you reviving things in your life. So one being your health, and the second being Azemco.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Because just to give a little bit of background about you, you are an electromechanical engineer, and you are one of probably the only women in the industry, right? There are more. So tell me more about this. Tell me more about your career and this particular aspect of reviving Azemco, and this quality that you have when it comes to this. So it sounds like you reach rock bottom, but you don't fail to quit, and you find a way to come out of it. Tell me about Azemco.
So we went through a really tough time, I would say, the last 24 months in our company. I mean, things were looking bad, but things went really, really down, I would say, 20 months ago. And we are still in survival mode, but much, much better. Like, we're good now, But yeah, things were looking crazy. And I know it's my dad's company as well, and there's a sense of duty for me to make sure that I don't put this burden on him, because at the end of the day, he's given me everything. He's given me an excellent platform. He's given me everything I need in life. So at this point, for me to burden him with these things, it was really stressing me and him out as well. So then yeah, I mean, at that point of time, I was just put in a corner. I had to figure out a few things on my way. I took help from a few of my friends as well. I went out, I spoke to people instead of just recoiling and be like, oh, things are just going to be bad. I took help of the community that I have, not financially, but in terms of advice and like what I must do and how I must approach things, because I was dealing with people who were much, much older and senior than me and much louder. They were so loud. Everyone was just screaming.
And I really want to touch base on that the fact that you said you were around people who are much older than you.
Yeah.
Was there any kind of discrimination, whether it's because of your age or gender or anything like that?
Definitely, I have faced discrimination based on my gender in my industry.
And how did that look like?
Do you know what? I don't blame them, because the kind of people that are in the senior people that are in construction, they're used to dealing with guys.
Yeah.
Right. So it's I don't blame them for thinking that I'm the secretary.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The younger generation is different, obviously, but I work with a lot of local companies, right? The international companies obviously have a few more female staff, but the local guys over here still work with predominantly men. So I don't blame them. I have to just, tell them, I am the managing partner.
Because
I am in charge.
Yeah, because one of the qualities that a lot of people say about you that you have is you are direct and you're resilient. So is that something that you had to learn?
Yeah, definitely.
And because of this industry that you're a part of?
Definitely. This industry is very, very results driven. At the end of the day, people need the work done. There's a lot of resources, manpower and money, time that is involved. There are a lot of penalties that get involved, because sometimes you work on government projects and, directly the ruler is monitoring, and you can't let yourself or your company down. So yeah, I had to really, really learn this on my way. And definitely my father has been an excellent mentor throughout this entire time. Like, I'll go to him with my problems and he'll be like, it's fine, you can do it. I just want to see you happy. And sometimes I'll be like, yeah, but Dad, it's just not what I want. I mean, that's not what I need right now. I just don't know what to do. And he's like, you'll figure it out. And yeah, I had to definitely learn along the way. So yeah, with Azemco as well, the tough time we went through, I had an excellent team. I took their support. I have an excellent staff. Managers right now who I can really rely on to make the right decision. And it's their company. Now everyone knows it's their company. It's just not,
It's not just someone else's.
Someone else's, their company. I want to make an environment where they feel like it's their home. So yeah.
And how do you manage the working culture that perhaps already existed? Is that something that you had to change or adapt to in any way?
So what I learned is that I couldn't change the culture. I had to adapt. I had to first be a part of it, then I could make the change.
And what does that mean, and how did you do that?
I don't know. I mean, I had to firstly accept the discrimination on a few bases. I would have to accept that, okay, they're not going to take me seriously.
Because I imagine that can also instill a lot of self-doubt or self-criticism in some way, right?
It did instill self-doubt. But then, you know what? I always had my dad who would, whenever I was a kid and I'd be shy of doing something, he'd make me do it. He's like, go and get this from that person. I'm like, no, I don't want to do it. I'm so shy. And then he's like, no, just go do it. So, and I think I tried not to take things personally. And I tried to see things from their view, which obviously is not the right way in all senses, because I need to be setting an example, leading the way to make sure that, women today are able to join construction. For example, we don't even have, sometimes the construction sites don't even have a female toilet at site, so it's difficult. So I don't know what the question was.
No, that's okay. No, what I wanted to touch base on, because now that we're on this topic, is how would you say your mental health is right now, and how does it reflect not only just your working environment, but also your personal environment? And so does that play a huge role in that?
So yeah.
And how do you manage that, basically?
So with mental health, I think what everyone says, I have learned to take time for myself and not feel guilty about it, because I do get exhausted, and sleeping well and eating well is just not enough. You need that downtime. It can be a week, it can be 10 days. It needs to be at least a couple of days. So yeah, it really, really impacts the way I am at work. But you know what? Sometimes you don't get the luxury of doing that.
Right.
You really don't. And you need to learn how to push through with that adrenaline for that moment, and then remember to take a downtime later. I have an excellent support system with my parents, my husband, my in-laws. I mean, they have been like rocks for me throughout this health and company journey as well. So yeah, I mean,
would that be one of the strategies that you use to overcome stress or deal with the ups and downs of the emotions that come into
yeah, I mean, I love spending time with my family now, and my friends definitely, but obviously with family, I like to know that there is a place I can always come to where I will be taken care of. And yeah, if you are not mentally not strong, but if your mental health is not in the right place, you're going to have stress, and it really, really, I've realized, manifests in your body as illnesses.
Yeah.
And if you don't keep in check, it's going to come through. Because I think that the 2021 episode with my eye and my spine, I think it was because of what I went through during COVID. We had 3 deaths in the family.
Right.
In the first wave, and we couldn't even go and meet them back in India. It was my grandfather, my dad's brother, and his wife. You know, they all passed away in a matter of 3 days. We couldn't even fly that time because there was no flights. It was stress of that. It was managing my parents. It was managing the company. It all came all together. So I think that my body just manifested this illness.
Right.
That's why I believe I don't have it now.
You know, there's something interesting that you touch based on, like, in a couple of parts in your story. One is looking for support, and the other one is asking for help. And I think they both go so hand in hand, and it also shows that's exactly what the body needs as well when it comes to its own health, not just emotionally, but also if that's exactly what you're doing to revive your body. And I feel like looking at your story, whether it's your career, whether it's your journey, I think the key element for you, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's just the humility in just saying like, hey, I need help, I need support.
That is true.
That's a very beautiful quality. So tell me, Ayesha, what advice would you give people who are going through this right now, either through their health journey or know someone who's going through the health journey, but most importantly, going through some particular kind of loss?
I would say that, I mean, this would sound very direct, but fix your diet. Guys, like, fix your diet. I mean, think about what you're putting in your body with like cola and processed food and anything that's packed in a packet and ingredients you cannot understand. Fix your diet, because once because that's the easiest thing that you can really, most tangible thing that you can fix. This is what I think. It's the most tangible thing you can fix, and then obviously it's your mental health, because your body keeps score. Your body keeps score of everything that you put it through and what you're going through. And so, yeah, my advice is fix your diet, learn better coping mechanisms, which is by asking for help. So if you know somebody who is going through pain-related things, or who's just popping Panadols or paracetamols, or the health is not doing quite great, let them reevaluate their nutrition, reevaluate their lifestyle, how much they're sleeping. Because these are a few things we can really fix before.
Because it sounds so simple.
It really is, Nia. I mean, this is what I really believe. With my experience, it was that simple. the way you feel. I mean, I was even reading about how, ADHD is diabetes of the brain. Sorry, Alzheimer's is the diabetes of the brain.
Yeah.
ADHD is manifested in kids with lots and lots of sugar.
Yeah.
Right? So,
And you never think about the impact of what you're eating and how that affects the way you think.
your body is holding on to all of it. Like, there's this book I read about body keeps score, and how trauma really stays in you and manifests in weird ways. So people, grieving with loss is something that I think that is very subjective. People need a lot more support and people around them. I think I need people around me and support system, even though I'd be like, I don't want to speak to anyone right now. But no, I think I think we are the only species today on the planet that actually are so involved in each other's lives, helping each other out, even with childbirth. I was just reading how that in animals, animals don't help each other out during childbirth.
It's survival.
Our species, like childbirth, is so traumatic, and we help the entire community back from like golden ages. They've been midwives and like people helping people out. So we have a beautiful species. We're a beautiful species, so we can rely on each other, we can communicate with each other, we can exchange knowledges. This is big advice to people. Fix your diet, speak to people around you, go get the right resources, and don't take medications as a first resort.
I love that. Now, to end our episode, one last question for you, Ayesha. How would you see yourself, let's say, in 10 years down the line? How do you envision your life, let's say 5 years, 10 years down the line? Where would you like to be in terms of mental health, physical health, lifestyle?
I think it would, the kind of Virgo I am, I think I would want an Excel sheet that would be automated in real life with, I've eaten this today and I've eaten that tomorrow. So I'm going to, obviously that's too much control. I think in 10 years with my mental health, but then, how would I say? I guess in 10 years, I would want to put this information within my children as well, so that they can lead the way in taking charge of their health. I can help I'm trying to help my parents with their food as well. Trying to tell them that, guys, you know what? It really makes a difference what you're eating. Maybe you can stop your medications, take charge of your food. So I think in a few years, I would want to be mentally at a place where I further develop better coping mechanisms. For my company's side, I'll develop better leadership skills. It's a tough question. I don't know.
And I think from my side, what I would like to know is, how do you stay disciplined? What are certain tricks and tips that you have for me when it comes to just staying disciplined with anything that you do?
So staying disciplined, I think about what will happen if I'm not. What is the other part of it? And for me, it was the pain. I never, ever want to go back to the pain. I never want to go back to the doctors. I mean, imagine I didn't have the kind of insurance I do, or the kind of money I do. What would I do?
Right.
I don't want to be dependent on things that I don't understand. Sorry, the question was?
The tips on discipline. No, but that's excellent. No,
sure. Exactly. I don't want to be on the other side of it. And do you know what? When you understand how bad certain things are and how good certain things are, I think the discipline comes very naturally.
Because I think I love what you just said, because it just reminded me of this conversation I've had before, where when you look at desire and when you look at fear, right? When there's desire, feels more like a pulling force, like you're drawn to something. But when that pulling force is not strong enough, you need fear, which is more of like a pushing force to push you to it. And from what you're saying, it sounds like for you, it's the fear of experiencing that pain again, rather than, I want to live a healthy
fear of just not enjoying this life I have been gifted, these resources that I have to get a better
it's like two sides of the same coin, right? It's very interesting. Like when, like thinking about it after what you've said, it's wow. But thank you so much.
Thanks. Yeah, I hope my answers were not very like.
No, because what I love about this, it's a candid conversation. It's real. You know, like the best way to share and to learn is through people's stories and what they've done by themselves, not through what they've learned through universities or school, but this is something that you learn from your own experience, and that works for you. That may not work for other people.
Yeah, exactly.
But if it works for one person at least, just by listening to your story, wouldn't that be successful, right?
Definitely.
So thank you so much for taking the time to share your story, and it's been such an honor.
I wish I was a better speaker for you.
No, I loved it.
I don't know what books I'll send you the books I read about all of these things, but I couldn't even remember them. I think I panicked.
No worries. Thank you, Ayesha.
Thank you.
Thank you.